Episode 5 also serves as the emotional crucible for the season, where hidden truths and long-held desires collide in ways that leave the audience breathless. The trailer hints at moments where the tension between Benedict and Sophie becomes almost unbearable, where intimacy is no longer gentle but urgent, risky, and electric. Every glance, every touch, every unspoken thought is layered with stakes. Benedict, who has long navigated love with charm and idealism, is confronted with the harsh reality that desire without understanding is dangerous. He must learn, often painfully, that seeing Sophie as a complete person requires more than fantasy. It requires empathy, patience, and courage in the face of societal and personal obstacles. Sophie's strength is equally illuminated in Episode 5. The trailer shows her navigating complex emotional and social terrain with intelligence, strategy, and bravery. She does not allow Benedict or anyone else to define her worth or dictate her choices. Every move she makes is calculated, balancing vulnerability with caution, affection with self-preservation. Episode 5 is an unflinching look at how love interacts with power. Sophie's resilience ensures that desire is never simple, and the audience is left in awe of the precision and thought behind her actions. She is a character who embodies the reality that love in this world comes with a cost, and that survival requires constant vigilance, even in moments of passion. The episode also underscores the psychological and social complexities surrounding their relationship. The trailer emphasizes that every decision, no matter how small, carries consequences for both characters. Benedict's actions, while well-intentioned, are now scrutinized not just by Sophie, but by the society that surrounds them. Sophie, acutely aware of these pressures, must navigate a delicate balance between expressing desire and maintaining control over her own destiny. Episode 5 demonstrates that love is never isolated. It exists in a network of expectations, dangers, and influences that amplify the stakes and deepen the suspense. Society's watchful gaze is a constant presence in this episode, creating an almost tangible tension. Family, peers, and social norms intersect with Benedict and Sophie's private world, ensuring that every word, gesture, and glance is weighed with consequence. Episode 5 makes it clear that love cannot exist in a vacuum. It is always influenced, constrained, and tested by the external world. This makes every intimate or emotional moment simultaneously thrilling and perilous, keeping viewers on edge with the knowledge that the smallest misstep could have profound repercussions. As Episode 5 unfolds, the audience is left grappling with a haunting question. When love is as dangerous as it is desired, when intimacy is entangled with survival, and when fantasy finally collides with reality, can Benedict and Sophie navigate the impossible and emerge intact, or will this episode mark a turning point that changes everything forever? The trailer suggests confrontations, revelations, and heartbreaks that will echo throughout the rest of the season, leaving viewers desperate to know what comes next. One thing is certain. Episode 5 will test love, loyalty, and courage in ways the Bridgerton universe has never dared before. Society's influence looms ever larger in this episode, making it impossible for private emotion to remain untouched. Family expectations, gossip, and social hierarchies intersect with Benedict and Sophie's private world, raising the stakes exponentially. Episode 5 brilliantly demonstrates that love in Bridgerton is never simple or isolated. Every choice, gesture, and interaction carries potential consequences, making suspense a constant undercurrent. The tension is almost unbearable, keeping viewers fully invested and emotionally hooked. Finally, Episode 5 leaves the audience with a question that resonates long after the screen fades. When desire collides with danger, when love comes with consequences, and when the collision of fantasy and reality is unavoidable, can Benedict and Sophie survive intact, or will everything they've built begin to crumble? The trailer teases explosive confrontations, revelations, and emotional climaxes that will define the rest of Season 4. Episode 5 is more than an episode. It is a crucible, a turning point, and a suspenseful crescendo where the stakes of love, power, and survival are higher than ever. And as the screen fades, one truth remains. In Bridgerton, nothing is safe, no secret remains hidden, and every choice has the power to change everything forever. Episode 5 closes the door on innocence and opens a window into a world where love, power, and consequence are inseparably entwined. The trailer makes it clear that this episode will leave no emotion untouched, no secret unexamined, and no character untouched by the consequences of their choices. Benedict and Sophie, who have long navigated desire with a mix of charm and caution, are now forced to confront the full intensity of their feelings. Every glance is charged, every gesture is deliberate, and every decision has the potential to reshape not just their relationship, but their entire lives. Episode 5 is a turning point where fantasy and reality collide with unrelenting force, and the audience is pulled into a whirlwind of suspense, passion, and moral tension. Benedict's arc in this episode is defined by reckoning. The trailer suggests that his whimsical idealism can no longer shield him from the consequences of his desire. He is confronted with Sophie as she truly is, a woman with agency, intelligence, and a past that cannot be ignored. Episode 5 forces him to question whether he can truly understand her world or whether his own fantasies will blind him to reality. His struggle is raw and emotionally charged as he attempts to reconcile the man he wants to be with the man this moment demands he become. The tension arises from the knowledge that any misstep could irreversibly damage the fragile connection he has worked so hard to build. Sophie, on the other hand, is the embodiment of resilience under pressure. The trailer highlights her strategic thinking, emotional acuity, and unflinching courage. She navigates each challenge with a balance of vulnerability and strength, understanding that affection in this world comes with risk. Episode 5 portrays her not as someone to be protected, but as a force to be reckoned with, a woman who dictates her own fate even when love tempts her to relinquish control. Every interaction between her and Benedict is a delicate balance of trust, strategy, and desire, leaving viewers on edge as they anticipate what will happen next. The societal stakes of Episode 5 further amplify the suspense. Family expectations, social hierarchy, and the pressures of polite society create a backdrop that ensures no choice exists in isolation. The trailer hints at moments where these forces collide with personal emotion, raising the tension to almost unbearable levels. Every action, every whisper, and every glance carries implications far beyond the immediate moment, reminding viewers that love in Bridgerton is never simple. It is complex, risky, and unpredictable. The episode forces the audience to confront the interplay between desire, power, and survival in ways that feel urgent and high stakes. Finally, Episode 5 leaves the audience with a question that echoes through the entire season. When love is fraught with danger, when desire collides with consequence, and when every choice carries the risk of heartbreak or betrayal, can Benedict and Sophie survive intact, or will this moment mark the point of no return? The trailer teases confrontations, revelations, and emotional stakes that will define the remainder of the season. Episode 5 is more than an episode. It is a turning point, a crucible, and a mirror reflecting how far desire can push even the most resilient hearts. And as the screen fades, one truth remains undeniable. In Bridgerton, nothing is ever safe, and every decision has the power to change everything. Benedict's journey in this episode reaches a critical point. The trailer hints at moments where his charm and idealism are not enough, forcing him to confront the reality of Sophie's world and the risks inherent in loving someone who cannot simply be idealized or controlled. Every interaction is charged, every glance carries meaning, and every choice could redefine their relationship. Episode 5 challenges him to move beyond fantasy and step fully into the responsibility of desire, or risk losing the person he cannot imagine life without. Sophie, on the other hand, continues to redefine what it means to be a heroine in Bridgerton. The trailer emphasizes her strategic brilliance, emotional resilience, and unwavering autonomy. She does not simply react to Benedict or societal pressures, she actively shapes the narrative, balancing vulnerability and strategy, desire and self-preservation. Episode 5 proves that she is the true force driving the story forward, and the audience is left on edge, anticipating her next move and the ways it will challenge everyone around her. Episode 5 doesn't just escalate tension, it redefines it, making every relationship, every choice, and every secret feel like it could ignite or implode at any moment. The trailer signals that the stakes for Benedict and Sophie are higher than ever. Love is no longer a private matter, and every interaction is a battlefield where desire, strategy, and survival collide. Benedict can no longer float through society relying on charm or idealism. He must confront the reality that Sophie's world is governed by risk, resilience, and intelligence, and that every misstep could have consequences far beyond his imagination. Episode 5 transforms longing into urgency, whimsy into intensity, and romance into a test of emotional endurance. Sophie's evolution reaches its peak in this episode. The trailer hints that her agency is now absolute. She navigates her world with a combination of courage, intellect, and careful calculation. She cannot afford to surrender blindly, even to the man she desires, because love in her world carries cost, consequence, and danger. Episode 5 emphasizes that Sophie is not simply reacting to events, she is shaping them. Every word, glance, and choice is deliberate, reflecting both the emotional complexity of her character and the stakes surrounding her survival. The tension comes from the uncertainty. When she decides to act, will it bring connection or catastrophe? Psychologically, Episode 5 is a masterclass in emotional suspense. Benedict and Sophie are caught in a web of misunderstanding, desire, and societal pressure, where every conversation is loaded with hidden meaning. The trailer suggests moments of conflict, hesitation, and revelation that will challenge not only the characters' trust in each other, but the audience's own assumptions about love and morality. The episode forces viewers to analyze every gesture, every expression, and every line of dialogue, making suspense a constant companion. There is no safety in predictability. Everything is charged with consequence, and the smallest action can have monumental impact. The influence of society, family, and expectation looms over the episode like a shadow, ensuring that no private emotion remains untouched by external forces. The trailer teases confrontations and pressures that push both characters to their limits, reminding viewers that in Bridgerton, love never exists in isolation. Every choice is observed, every word is scrutinized, and every desire is tested against the reality of a world that is unforgiving. Episode 5 brilliantly illustrates that love is as much about survival and power as it is about emotion, making every scene both thrilling and high stakes. Ultimately, Episode 5 leaves the audience with a question that lingers. When desire is dangerous, when love is a risk, and when every action has consequence, can Benedict and Sophie endure and retain who they are, or will the pressures of society, survival, and emotion shatter everything? The trailer hints at moments of passion, revelation, and confrontation that will define the rest of Season 4. Episode 5 is not just a turning point, it is a crucible that will leave viewers questioning what love truly costs, and whether even the strongest hearts can survive unscathed. One truth remains clear: in the world of Bridgerton, nothing is safe, and everything can change in a single choice. Episode 5 doesn't simply leave questions unanswered. It transforms the very landscape of Bridgerton Season 4, setting the stage for twists, revelations, and confrontations that will dominate the rest of the season. The trailer makes it crystal clear. Nothing is guaranteed, no relationship is safe, and every decision made by Benedict and Sophie carries consequences that could reshape their lives forever. The intensity of their connection now operates under a lens of danger, survival, and emotional vulnerability, turning desire into a high-stakes game where every move matters. Benedict's journey in this episode reaches a critical point. The trailer hints at moments where his charm and idealism are not enough, forcing him to confront the reality of Sophie's world and the risks inherent in loving someone who cannot simply be idealized or controlled. Every interaction is charged, every glance carries meaning, and every choice could redefine their relationship. Episode 5 challenges him to move beyond fantasy and step fully into the responsibility of desire, or risk losing the person he cannot imagine life without. Episode 5 doesn't simply continue the story, it pushes every element of drama, romance, and suspense to a breaking point. The trailer makes it clear that Benedict and Sophie are now navigating a world where every emotion has weight, every choice has consequence, and every secret has the potential to explode. Benedict can no longer rely on charm, wit, or whimsical ideals. The reality of Sophie's world, one of danger, survival, and unrelenting social scrutiny, demands that he act with awareness, care, and courage. Episode 5 transforms desire into urgency, turning every scene into a test of character, resilience, and emotional depth. Sophie's evolution in this episode is breathtaking. The trailer highlights her intelligence, agency, and strategic thinking, showing that she is no longer simply reacting to circumstances, she is actively shaping them. Every glance, every word, every decision is deliberate, reflecting both the emotional complexity of her character and the stakes that hang over her life. Episode 5 forces the audience to recognize that love for Sophie is never simple. It is a negotiation of trust, survival, and mutual understanding. She embodies the tension between vulnerability and strength, keeping viewers constantly on edge, uncertain of what will happen next. Psychologically, Episode 5 is electrifying. Benedict and Sophie are caught in a dance of desire, misunderstanding, and strategy. The trailer suggests moments where miscommunication could trigger heartbreak, where hesitation could ignite conflict, and where a single action could have ripple effects across their lives. Every scene is infused with suspense, making the audience feel the tension in almost every frame. Episode 5 demonstrates that in Bridgerton, romance is inseparable from consequence, and love itself is a battlefield where only the careful, the courageous, and the perceptive can survive. Societal pressures, as always, loom over the narrative. The trailer hints at moments where family expectations, gossip, and social hierarchy collide with the private lives of our protagonists, amplifying tension and heightening stakes. Episode 5 emphasizes that in Bridgerton, love cannot exist in isolation. It is always tested against the rules, expectations, and dangers of the surrounding world. This interplay between private emotion and public consequence keeps viewers fully engaged, emotionally invested, and constantly questioning what might happen next. Finally, Episode 5 leaves the audience with a question that will echo through the remainder of Season 4. When love is both urgent and dangerous, when desire collides with consequence, and when fantasy meets the unyielding realities of life, can Benedict and Sophie survive intact? Or will this episode mark the moment where everything begins to unravel? The trailer teases confrontations, revelations, and emotional climaxes that will define the rest of the season. Episode 5 is not just another chapter, it is the crucible where desire, consequence, and survival collide, leaving viewers desperate for the next twist, the next revelation, and the next moment where love is tested to its limits. Episode 5 doesn't simply continue the story, it pushes every element of drama, romance, and suspense to a breaking point. The trailer makes it clear that Benedict and Sophie are now navigating a world where every emotion has weight, every choice has consequence, and every secret has the potential to explode. Benedict can no longer rely on charm, wit, or whimsical ideals. The reality of Sophie's world, one of danger, survival, and unrelenting social scrutiny, demands that he act with awareness, care, and courage. Episode 5 transforms desire into urgency, turning every scene into a test of character, resilience, and emotional depth. Sophie's evolution in this episode is breathtaking. The trailer highlights her intelligence, agency, and strategic thinking, showing that she is no longer simply reacting to circumstances, she is actively shaping them. Every glance, every word, every decision is deliberate, reflecting both the emotional complexity of her character and the stakes that hang over her life. Episode 5 forces the audience to recognize that love for Sophie is never simple. It is a negotiation of trust, survival, and mutual understanding. She embodies the tension between vulnerability and strength, keeping viewers constantly on edge, uncertain of what will happen next. Psychologically, Episode 5 is electrifying. Benedict and Sophie are caught in a dance of desire, misunderstanding, and strategy. The trailer suggests moments where miscommunication could trigger heartbreak, where hesitation could ignite conflict, and where a single action could have ripple effects across their lives. Every scene is infused with suspense, making the audience feel the tension in almost every frame. Episode 5